Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 438th film from 2021. It's the Japanese adult animated film called Bright Samurai Soul. It's directed by Kyohei Ishiguro and stars the voices of Alessandro Yuki Nomura, Daisuke Hirakawa, and Shion Wakayama. I'm Jesse, I'm your host. Thank you for joining me today for this Netflix original film. As always, if this is a film that you haven't seen yet and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause and come back a little bit later on because we will spoil it as we go. This one's a little bit different because I don't want to spoil anything too much, but yes, spoilers. Don't listen if you haven't seen this or don't know about it, because this is actually like a follow-up to the Netflix original hit film called Bright, the one that starred Will Smith back in the early days of Netflix original programming. So if I didn't make that connection, to be honest, when I started watching this. So there you go. That gives a little bit of a spoiler. But we like to do our little fast flicks where we do a quick little summary of what the film's all about. So this one, it's about a samurai and an orc who team up together to save an elf from evil. There you go. Super basic from here. This one's, as I said, sort of interesting. Let's talk about how it ended up on Netflix. The title Around the World. So obviously Bright relates to that film Bright, and then Samurai Soul is about the soul of a samurai. So around the world, in French and Ukrainian, it's called Bright, the soul of the samurai. That makes sense. In Chinese, it's called Lightbringer, warrior's soul. Okay. In Korean, it's Bright, the spirit of a warrior. And in Vietnamese, it's the magic wand, the samurai spirit. That one probably makes the most sense out of all of them. This is about a magic wand and the journey of this elf to bring this magic wand to their homeland. As I said, this is a spin-off of the Netflix original film from 2017. So interesting little, I didn't click. As I said, the director of the film said, to be honest, I hadn't seen the original film before I got this assignment. He was approached by Netflix to helm the reimagined film. He said, when I saw it, I became a fan. I have great respect for the original and the message that the Bright ability is a very special one. He went on to say, I had a lot of creative freedom and my own creative ability and power in this spin-off version. The theme of loyalty and loyalty for the master is a unique aspect of the samurai or feudal culture in Japan. But in this film, it's not only about loyalty to the master, but also a character's loyalty to himself or herself. Because this character, as well as other characters, is betrayed throughout the story, and how they behave when something like this happens is very important to the bigger message of what it means to be a Bright. And then a little bit of a connection that the director made to Netflix. He said, I had the chance to interact a lot with Netflix staff members who were involved in the production of the original version. And they gave me the endorsement and told me that I can use my free imagination in coming up with the animated version. There we go, a little bit of story behind this one. Netflix did announce this as a part of their Geeked Week in June of 2021. And Kyohei Ishiguro was announced as the director from a script by Miko Yokode with the character designs from the Architect animation studio. September of 2021 is when the cast or the voice cast of the film was revealed, and the film, it uses, or it's animated using 3D computer graphics with art in the style of Japanese woodblock prints. So it's a very distinct visual style when you do watch this film. This hit Netflix worldwide on the 12th of October 2021. What are the critics and audiences saying about this film? On Rotten Tomatoes, it sits at 40% from the critics. That's on 5 reviews, so that is rotten. Audience, even a little bit lower, 36%. That's on less than 50 ratings, so not very positive there. IMDb sits at a 5.5 out of 10 on 1,300 ratings. Not a lot there. The same with Letterboxd. Only been rated by 1,200 people. Sits at a 2.6 out of 5. And it's only been logged by 1,700 people. And on Metacritic, there's not enough critic reviews on that traffic light system of red, yellow, and green, but the audience has it at a 3.6 out of 10 on 5 reviews. That is super low. That is in red. That is in stay away, do not watch. So what are my early thoughts on this one? Now, I wanted to like it. I love animation. I like watching animated films. Wanted to get involved, but it almost felt incomplete. It's got a very, very short runtime, and it feels like there's almost scenes missing or moments missing to help connect the narrative. So I think, I almost think too that if you're watching this you must have been so into the original Bright film that you remember the lore and don't need it explained again. And probably when it was released, that was probably part of the campaign from Netflix when it was released. But me coming to this a long time after the release, and me jumping in, not even remembering when we did the original Bright episode on here that it had an animated follow-up, to me that sort of made it hard to work out what was going on, and I was just watching it as a narrative that kind of didn't make sense a lot of the time. So anyway, let's jump into it. Let's talk about the director, Kyohei Ishiguro. He has 13 directing credits across anime, television, film, nothing else I've heard of. So there we go. Let's talk about the characters. As I said, it's about 80-minute runtime, not even. So you don't get a lot of development in this film. But Aizu, he's the protagonist. He's a wandering samurai, and he's lost his reason to live, realistically. He doesn't trust anyone at all. And he's so down and out that he works as a bodyguard or a security guard at a brothel. So how low in life can you really get? And the idea is he's missing one of his eyes. So he has this emo-style haircut to cover this up. And throughout his journey to bond and build relationships with people, he has these flashbacks of his sensei who treated him poorly. And this sensei rocks up later in the film as the villain. So there you go. The people that join this journey with Uzu, or the creatures, not necessarily people. Raiden is this big blue orc, and he wants to redeem himself. He's set off to kidnap this Sonya elf, and he wants to redeem himself from this life of thuggery and service and have freedom. And deep down, he has this heart of gold. So he wants to protect this Sonya, who's a young elf, and she is sold on and to this brothel that Aizu works at. So she makes, a bit of a relationship with this high courtesan lady who gifts her a wand. So Aizu and Raiden, they get on board to support her and help her deliver this wand to her homeland, or the elves in the north. And in doing this, they've got to prevent her from being captured by villains who want to see if she's a bright and can use this wand. And she's scared of water, and this is an elf trait, apparently, which I don't remember if it was in the first film. Probably was. I mentioned the high courtesan lady, Chiaya. She's the ruler who runs the brothel, possibly. She's the one that gifts this wand to Sonya, and then she dies. And she has a twin sister who rocks up later to help Sonya, so there's all good there. Let's talk about some scenes. This is hard. This was so hard to pull anything out. The thing that I liked in this one, there's a moment where Izu and Raiden, they talk about his orc past, and they share a drink, and then later on they talk about Izu's life. They were nice moments, some little backstory to these characters. Some things that didn't work in this one. The start of the film starts with Japanese text on screen with English subtitles at the bottom. It just went so fast. There was a lot of text, and I'm not sure it was necessarily needed. The middle of the film, there's just this dialogue dump or plot dump. This centaur just rocks up to save our two heroes, I guess. It was just too much. The crew, the crew, they raid this horse and cart because Raiden smells Sonya. It smells the elf in it. And Aizu's old master just sort of takes them all out and then just drives off in this cart. I thought that was a little bit pointless. And finally, this one line of dialogue, Aizu says, "I'm no samurai, I'm Sonya's bodyguard." It was just laughable. It was like one of those lines from those cheesy anime shows you may have watched as a kid, early morning television. So anyway, there we go. The themes, the ideas in this one. There's obviously that idea of distrust in races, and I remember that being clear in the first film. But nothing's really said in this one. I think there's the fear of outsiders and discrimination's all there, and that idea of needing to accept and acceptance too. This one plays on that idea of light and the power that's inside, and freedom and keeping your promises and pushing towards redemption and overcoming your past wrongs. And this is seen through, I guess, the physical location in the film, especially from the start. The restoration of new things and old things disappearing, and change is important, but sometimes there are some things that don't need to change too. What else did I take away from this film? I can't work out if I was impressed with the animation style or not. Visually, at times, the movement looks so cool, especially like this 3D rendering of the locations and the camera work and the tracking and stuff. But then some of the details in facial expressions and close-ups and things like that were very ordinary. So I'm still on the fence. I don't know whether the animation style actually worked the whole way through. It's like there's so much detail put into some parts, but other parts, not so much. Some questions, some pondering, some thoughts, some ideas to almost wrap this one up. I think, so as I've sort of said throughout, apparently this is literally the same plot as the original Bright film, but it's set in like a feudal Japan. I literally couldn't remember the plot of the first one. I remember about, I think Will Smith's character was a police officer. I remember the orc. But apart from that, I don't remember anything. I think I liked the film. I think I was one of the only ones on the show that liked the original film, but this made no connection to me whatsoever. So it probably proves to Netflix that this isn't a franchise that stays in people's minds. The soundtrack, it was cool. It was cool at times, but it did feel out of place. It just changed vibes and changed genres almost and styles. It just was a little bit interesting, I think. And then the last one, the guy at the start, there's one of these villains at the start of the film that he loses an arm. And then at the end, he rocks up on this ship as a villain again, and he's got like octopus arms and legs now. I was just like, how? This felt very weird to me. No explanation. Other than that, I'm ready to wrap this one up. Not many people have probably seen this, and not many people are probably going to see it or listen to this. So we give the film a rating out of 5 on this show. For me, it's hard to recommend this unless you've probably maybe just watched the original Bright and feel connected to the characters and the mythology and the story. That might work if you back it up with this, but I think it literally made me think that I'm probably never going to revisit it either, because there's no memorable characters that you care about, no real connection, and as I said at the start, it sort of feels like it's missing too much to make it a complete narrative. It just jumps. And I looked at towards the end, there's this battle on some boats or on some ships, and I was like, oh wow, we're having this big battle. And I looked, and there's only like 5 minutes to go. I was like, how's this going to wrap up so quickly? It just felt like it was rushed. Is probably there we go. There's one word I could have used instead of a rant. So I'm giving this a 2 out of 5. It's an okay score. It was fine, but like bits and pieces worked, bits and pieces didn't. 2 out of 5. We're on socials. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have X, formerly known as Twitter. Give us a follow, give us a like if you can. The question I wanted to ask on social was, why do we keep birds in cages? This seems like to me, so this plays in this film. There's a bird that's kept in a cage at the start of the film in this brothel with, I think they call it a northern bird, and it's away from its home and it can't get home. And then at the end of the film, you see that this bird's escaped and it's flying free, that idea of freedom. But just in real life, why do we keep birds in cages? It feels so cruel. Like with any animal that is locked up in a cage, obviously zoos are cruel, farms are pretty ordinary at times too, how they treat animals, but birds have got wings, they're meant to fly. How do we keep them in these tiny little cages? I don't know. That just made me think a little bit of an actual life situation. Other than that, we are back next week with another film. Not tomorrow, next week. It's another international film from 2021. It's the Spanish psychological thriller called Fever Dream, or Distancia de Rescate. It's directed by Claudia Losa and stars Maria Valverde and Dolores Fonzi. There we go. Never heard of this one. I'm sure most people haven't, but that's my job, is to get on this show and look at those deep dive, dark Netflix films that no one's seen. So if you're interested, check out Fever Dream for next week. Other than that, I will see you then.